He did not need a mythical Zoan fruit, he became one. A warrior who turns the battlefield into cartoon, bends reality itself, and dances while fighting immortal beings like Imu and the Gorosei. So today we're diving into how strong is the youngest Yonko, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Monkey D. Luffy. So let's start off by his devil fruit, which is the main reason behind his strength. So Luffy's devil fruit is a Hito Hito no Mi model Nika, which is a mythical Zoan top that was previously known as the Gum Gum fruit. It grants him the ability to transform into rubber and into Sun God Nika, who is a warrior of liberation. It also gives him an insanely good durability, reach, and physical strength. He can also transform into different gears, which enhances physical strength and speed. In Gear 5, which is his strongest form, he also has the ability to turn things into rubber and throw lightning back at people like Kaido. He's also one of the only characters in the entire verse who has mastery over all three types of Haki, including Ornament, Observation, and Conquerors. With his Conquerors being capable of clashing with Kaido, the King of the Beasts, and Observation far surpassing Katakuri. Luffy also has an insanely overpowered Ornament Haki since he has the ability to damage his opponents internally with Ryu like he did to Kaido. Now let's move on to a few of Luffy's feats and abilities. So I'm going to be starting with Dressrosa, where Luffy got his first real power up fighting Doflamingo. Back in the Dressrosa arc, he awakened Gear 4 and was able to clash and beat Doflamingo, who's a warlord, and Dofi can be scaled to warlord level. Luffy's next feat was in Whole Cake Island, where he was able to gain better control over Observation Haki and see a couple seconds into the future. Gaining better control over Observation Haki was very useful for Luffy as it helped him avoid getting hit by surprise attacks. Not to mention that he went on to surpass Katakuri, who was one of the strongest Yonko commanders. Then later on, Luffy arrives at the land of Wano and goes on to clash with Kaido, who is one of the 4 emperors and has the best durability in the entire verse. Despite Luffy struggling a lot and getting knocked down clean many times, Kaido did not finish him. Personally, I consider Kaido to be stronger than Luffy since he was lifting an entire island plus fought Akazaya 9, Yamato, and Big Mom for 3 days straight, and he never really took Luffy that serious, and if Kaido did lock in, he would have outlasted Luffy. Despite all that, Luffy still ended up defeating Kaido, and in the end his most powerful attack was far stronger than Kaido's most powerful attack. And on top of that, his Bajoran gun was capable of punching a hole through Onigashima, which is a fairly big island. Not to mention that in Gear 5, before he gasses out, he was definitely a little stronger than Kaido. The only reason he lose to Kaido one-on-one is his stamina. Same as the fight with Kizaru, he was able to knock out Kizaru and then ended up gassing out. So the fight with Kaido alone puts him at Yonko tier, even exceeding characters like Big Mom, Fujitora, and Green Bull. Now let's move on to Luffy's next big feat, which is going on par with the Go Kizaru, who can move and attack at light speeds. The fight with Kizaru easily puts Luffy over light speeds as he was able to react to Kizaru's attacks and even intercept them from miles away. Kizaru can also accelerate a little faster than light, and Luffy was able to keep up with no problems. I do think Kizaru was overall stronger since he can outlast Luffy and brought food for him after the fight was over, not to mention that Kizaru was in a way better condition than Luffy after the fight, and on top of that, Kizaru did have a mental nerf and he did not care about fighting Luffy. But still, both Luffy and Kizaru were relative, and it comes down to whether Luffy can maintain Gear 5 for a longer time or not. Well, the fight with Kizaru proves that Luffy is more than capable of taking down Green Bull and Fujitora. Now let's move on to Luffy's next feat, which is grabbing both Kizaru and Saturn together. I agree there wasn't a full-fledged fight between them, so it's not something big. Then later on, Luffy pulls up to Elbaf and ends up freeing Loki, the Prince of Elbaf. Freeing Loki, the Prince of Elbaf, was certainly a risky decision, but this indicates that Luffy would have been able to stop Loki if he went berserk. One thing to mention is that Loki had a special bounty of around 2.6 billion berries, which is very close to admirals like Green Bull and Fujitora. And there is a very high possibility that he has Conqueror's Haki as well, since he had an insanely powerful Observation Haki rivaling Luffy itself. Also, only a Yonko or Admiral had the capability to beat Loki, as Shanks was the only person who beat Loki. So yeah, Luffy is certainly very powerful and scales up to the top tiers, but the only thing that holds him back is his stamina and durability. He's still more than capable of getting turned into a donut by Lord Akainu and losing to Kuzan since he can get outlasted. But still, he can do very well against most Admirals or Yonko since he can turn the ground into rubber and avoid most attacks with raw speed and power. It's also been stated that Luffy's power is limited by imagination, and he's going to continue to grow stronger and even surpass the likes of Roger and Whitebeard, who are capable of affecting the planet. So yeah, right now Luffy is easily FTL plus multi-continental with having insanely overpowered abilities. He can see into the future and damage people internally and also turn things into rubber. He's definitely above Green Bull, Fujitora, and Big Mom, and around Kizaru, but a little under Kuzan. He's also definitely below Blackbeard and Shanks. As for Fleet Admiral Akainu and Mihawk, they're on a league of their own. Luffy's already had a sword in Wano, so you've gotta know what that means.